if you're to ask people what the American dream is, you might get a bunch of different answers. You might get, owning a home with the white picket fence and the 2.5 kids and the dog. Other people might say it's to become a, entrepreneur or a bazillionaire. But the American dream actually has been pretty simple from day one. The American dream has always been to leave your children a better life than you had, and to leave them a better country than you lived in. That has always been the American dream, is that America welcomes the, really, like the Statue of Liberty says, bring me your poor, your tired, your downtrodden, whatever it says. That it's the land of opportunity. It's the place everyone goes when they want a better life, yes, for themselves, but way more importantly, for their children and their grandchildren. And that is one of the things that has made America such a fantastic country and has made it the most desirable country in the world for the last 250 years for people to immigrate to. And that social contract has been something that we have kept up literally for every generation since the founding of this country, or at least since we started keeping statistics on these sort of things. You can go back and you can look, and every generation of American has done better across the board than their parents did, up until the baby boomers. The baby boomers are the first generation of Americans in American history that are leaving their children worse off in life than they had it. And this covers everything from home ownership rates to net worth, when adjusted for inflation, income, retirement, quality of life, every metric across the board. Baby boomers left their children off worse than they had it, and they left the country off worse than they had it. And this is something that's, it's very controversial. Boomers get really upset when you point out just the statistical fact that they're the first generation of Americans in American history to have actually left their children and grandchildren a worse life than they had. And I'll just use my own personal example, my own personal situation as an example. My great-grandfather and his wife and their 6 children immigrated from Germany during the Homestead Act. They immigrated to Kansas if you guys are not familiar with the Homestead Act, basically you homestead 160 acres in 5 years. If you're still there and you're still living and surviving, the United States government would just grant you and deed you those 160 acres. My great-grandfather had no formal education. My grandfather was a child of him. He took over farming when my great-grandfather died. Of course, my great-grandfather died basically broke. He then took from my great-grandfather having no formal education. He obtained an 8th grade education, no high school. Then my father, his son, obtained a high school graduation, right? So you see the elevation in education. Each generation, my grandfather had more money and land and assets and education than his father. My father had more education, property, land, assets, income than his father. I, as a Gen Xer, don't. I am still waiting to achieve the level of success my baby boomer father achieved, and I'm not going to achieve it. I don't make as much money as he does. I probably will never make as much money as he does. The property, the modest home I own isn't worth nearly the home he owned. I have about the same education as him. I'm definitely left worse off than his father left him. And this is due to a lot of different things that baby boomers did that previous generations did not do. Both from a policy standpoint, in terms of like the laws that they supported, the things that they passed in government, and just from a personal standpoint, in terms of how they viewed the importance of sacrificing in order to leave their children a better life than they had. Baby boomers, again, there's always exceptions, but across the board, do not seem to place the same importance on ensuring that their children and grandchildren have a better life than they had. Quite the opposite. They tend, if you talk to them, to take the opinion that I did it myself. I pulled myself up by my bootstraps. I didn't get any help. Nobody helped me. You need to go out there and you need to do it on your own. Don't look to me for help. I didn't receive any help, even though they received enormous help. But they seem to deny it, and they seem to have this sink or swim attitude. Whereas all of the previous generations before them definitely did not have that attitude. They had the attitude of, we need to ensure our children and grandchildren get all the help they can possibly get and make sure that they have a way better life than what we had. Boomers are kind of the first ones that have come into the American social contract and said, you know what, we're done with that shit. We want it all, and we want all the money, we want all the land, we want all the homes, we want to keep it for ourselves, and then our children and grandchildren can fend for themselves. And you see that in a lot of different areas. For example, you got a lot of boomers who are well into retirement living in 4 and 5 bedroom homes that refuse to sell their homes. And they refuse to sell their homes, which then creates a housing shortage, which then drives up housing prices, because you've got grandma living by herself, and my mom is one of these people. My mom lives in a 5-bedroom home by herself. She's a widow on 20 acres and refuses to move. Okay, that's fine. I'm not saying it's her property. She can do with it what she wants. I'm saying the change in the mentality, the philosophy, because her grandparents and parents and great-grandparents would have been like, that's crazy. You need to sell that property or will it to your children, give it to your children, move into a little 1 or 2 bedroom house and make sure your children have a better life than you did. Not boomers. Boomers are like, it's mine, it's all mine, and you just all need to pull yourself up by the bootstraps. Same thing when it comes to laws and legislation. I mean, my dad bought his first home at 25 years old on a VA loan when he came back from Vietnam. Well, my dad at 25 didn't vote for the VA program. It was his parents who voted to make sure that the young kids coming back from war, from Vietnam, would have home loan programs and other things that could get them started out in life. Did baby boomers pass any of those laws? Hell no. Baby boomers passed laws like 15% capital gains tax on investments. That doesn't help Gen X or millennials. That helps them. They help pass laws like mortgage interest tax deduction. That doesn't help young, early 20s, mid 20s people. That helps people their age who own properties and homes to deduct their mortgage interest, which obviously has since been repealed. The boomers passed a bunch of laws that benefited them, not that benefited their children, and they're very quickly getting a reputation as the most selfish, self-centered, narcissistic generation in human history, or in American history, I should say, because of the fact that they have seemingly little to no interest in making sure that their children and grandchildren have a better life than they did. They have seemingly no interest in making sure the country is left in a better condition. I mean, prior to the baby boomers, this country had no debt. The baby boomers are the ones who passed all the laws to sink the country into massive amounts of federal debt that Gen X, millennials, Gen Z, all the future generations will have to pay off long after they are worm food, and they don't care. They don't care about sinking the country into massive amounts of debt because they have this attitude of, not our problem. So, I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you think. I definitely think that, I mean, I've seen it in my own life. I've seen it in my friend's life. I just don't think that baby boomers, they just don't give a shit. They don't give a shit about anything that doesn't directly benefit them. And then their answer for any reason why any other generation other than theirs didn't succeed is you're too lazy, you don't pull yourself up by your bootstraps, you buy too much Starbucks coffee, you don't watch your money. I mean, it's this nauseating sense of entitlement and just a complete lack of appreciation or even acknowledgement of the amount of insane benefit and help and advantage they received to get to where they are in life. It's honestly quite literally disgusting. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments.